你好 How are you? Today, 我会跟大家分享一下 what I think about language mixing and code switching. See what I've done there? Does this remind you of how your bilingual child talks? Keep watching if you want to find out more about this truly fascinating topic. If you've been raising your child to speak more than one language for a while, you've most likely noticed that your child sometimes mixes the languages. I certainly see that with my own kids who are raised to be trilingual in Mandarin, Russian and English. This phenomenon is very common and is in fact an inevitable part of growing up with more than one language. However, at this point, we need to make a distinction between two similar but different concepts. Code switching on the one hand and code mixing on the other. When people say that their kids mix different languages, they are typically referring to code mixing as opposed to code switching. You might be thinking, wow, that sounds a bit confusing. Yep, I get it, so let me explain. Before we even get to the concepts of code switching and code mixing, let's discuss why the word code is used in relation to raising multilingual children. First, let's look at why languages are compared to codes. Like codes, languages are structured systems of symbols and rules that enable communication between individuals. Just as codes consist of a set of characters and instructions for encoding and decoding messages, languages comprise phonemes, morphemes, syntax, and semantics that govern how information is conveyed and interpreted. In a nutshell, this analogy is the basis of terminology such as code mixing and code switching. Now, let's first look at the phenomenon of code switching. Code switching refers to the practice of switching between two or more languages or language varieties within a single conversation or discourse. Speakers may switch from one language to another based on various factors, such as social context, the person they're speaking to, the topic, or even for emotional emphasis. Take our family as an example. My husband and I practice the one parent, one language strategy with our two children, which means that my husband speaks to them in Russian and I to them in Mandarin, and the kids speak to everyone else in English. When we are together as a family, the children intuitively know that they speak to me in Mandarin and to daddy in Russian. If my stepfather, who only speaks English, comes along and joins the conversation, they know straight away to switch to English. That's code switching in action. Code switching reflects a speaker's linguistic competence and proficiency in navigating multiple linguistic systems. If you are raising your child to speak more than one language, chances are they've already developed code switching skills to some extent. Sorry to interrupt, but if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit the like and subscribe button to help this channel reach more people like yourself who love language learning and care deeply about raising multilingual children. Also, please check out my website and my book for more useful information. My mission is to empower parents all around the world to raise their child to be fluent in more than one language, which is what my book, my website, and this channel are all about. Thank you. Now, let's address the phenomenon of code mixing, which is generally what parents mean when they say that their kids mix their languages. Code mixing involves the incorporation of elements from one language into another within the same sentence or utterance. This can include borrowing words, phrases, or grammatical structures even from one language and integrating them into another. To give you an example, my son might say something like, 妈妈，昨天我在学校吃 fish fingers 了. Mommy, I ate fish fingers at school yesterday. While this sentence is mostly in Chinese and follows Chinese grammar, the words fish fingers are in English because he doesn't know how to say fish fingers in Chinese. If you've been raising your child to speak more than one language, you are very likely to have noticed your child doing something very similar. Most, if not all, children who speak more than one language do mix languages. As parents, please be assured that this kind of code mixing is a totally normal part of language acquisition. It is not a sign of confusion, but is in fact a sign of creativity and problem solving. Your child is learning to compensate for the vocabulary they lack in one language by incorporating words from another language. You notice that as your child gets older, the amount of mixing will gradually decrease. This is because as their vocabulary size in each language grows, they won't have the need to mix anymore. So what should you do when your child mixes the languages? Firstly, give yourself permission to relax and accept that code mixing is normal. It is usually just a phase that they grow out of as the vocabulary sizes in each of the languages grow. Continue to give your child adequate exposure to the target languages to help them expand their vocabulary. If your child is actively trying to speak the target language with you, but is incorporating words from the majority language, I suggest modeling the correct language for the child. When they mix languages, repeat what they should say in the target language. This way, your child still gets the correct input without feeling discouraged. The last thing you want is for your child to lose their confidence in speaking the target language. I hope that this video has helped you understand why your child mixes the languages and why, generally speaking, this isn't something to worry about. The thing to bear in mind is that code switching and code mixing are both key components of the bilingual experience, and they are in fact signs of creativity and problem solving rather than confusion or inadequacy. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in my next video. Bye bye, 再见，巴卡巴卡。